Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Barcast TV and to another episode of At the Bar. Today we are once again joined by our illustrious co-host and another special guest. Welcome to LSR and Raghna.
Hi everyone, Raghna here.
Hey guys,
Yeah.
illustrious LSR is also here. So yeah, what is the map? What are we watching? And
Yeah, so
What's going on?
we're gonna have playing in the background a match taken from Spring TV's finals, played just 2 weeks ago between Raghna and
Yeah,
Teddy.
that's it.
And yeah, I just wanted to get your all's feedback on the most recent Pro League and what you thought of the format, what you would change about either the qualifiers or the actual main event. So, LSR, you want to start us off?
I think the event went great. Everybody was super happy. There, from production perspectives, there was a lot of things we could improve. But those are my most or less like even improvements in like maybe visual quality on editing, and it seems like the players enjoy the format as well. And yeah, I think we need more brave people joining the qualifiers because actually they were hard to raise at the very end, and yeah. I don't know what we do about the poor Australians, which have to do like harder time zones.
Yeah, pick your poison, right? Like, gotta make a special Aussie event or something.
We had a lot of Aussie events like the BDBR and Snoopa and Hellhound. I think no one of them couldn't make it. So I think that was like the biggest loss
For sure.
that we had.
Yeah, so here as a contrast in the Spring TV one, what they did was you have a week to play your game, and then you send your games to the host, and then the host casts it after they played, which allows for these like time zone differences. But then I feel like a lot of the hype is down a little bit, and there's some other downsides to it.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, agree. What did you all think about the map pool? Having 7 maps, would you like? How would you change it?
Everyone liked that, I think. Oh, I didn't see like a single complaint about the maps. Everybody thought it was really cool that you can pick and ban maps, and you have to practice like less maps. So for the next event, I think we just like rotate the maps to completely everything else. Then everybody has like what do we give, like a month or at least 2 weeks to
Practice and
prepare,
prepare,
right?
right?
Indeed, and I think it was good maps. People liked the maps. It's nice that there were some nice options. For example, like a C map, but then again, you could always ban a C map, so you weren't
Exactly.
obliged to play it. So that was good, yeah.
I have seen or heard from people about seeing the similar map played. So like we saw a lot of Isidis, we saw a lot of Comet Catcher, obviously. How would you feel about just having maybe those more popular 1v1 maps like Comet Catcher just removed from the map pool in favor of
Oh,
like...
for sure. I wanted to have a whole thing rotated, right? Maybe on like if the next event, because I think given the bar has so many maps, we still could get some of them. I think there is. We could gather 7 more maps. Like there's the Z, there's the Avalanches, something more Ragnar favored, right? A little bit smaller and nicer. So. And add some macro maps, and I think for the C we also have like silency, and there's I mean at the worst case you can just flood a map, right? But I think even there is a flooded valley, for example, which is an okay 1v1 map, right? And it,
Yeah, true. Yeah, indeed. I mean, there's so many maps. I think if none of the maps return, that's perfectly fine. A lot of the big standard maps like Red Comet and Comet Catcher were there, and they're played so much. So it was nice to have that, like with the familiar maps. But yeah, all new maps sounds good to me.
Definitely.
and I think there's also like a couple of Midwit maps, right? The Death Valley. There was this one Desolation map, which are like kind of middle maps.
Macros. He just came out with a new one with his, forgive me, it's like Lavender something or other. Am I getting that name correct?
Oh, I haven't checked for a bit, but yeah, I mean,
So there is a lot
Yeah,
of
the-
maps to pick from.
Yeah, and even some bigger maps, like you said, for to see some macro, and then you can always ban it if you don't like it, and so on. You know.
Yeah, I tried to find a balance between like solar maps, small maps, big maps. So seems like you said, players can ban a C map if they don't want to play it. If they don't want to play it on the Red Comet, the super small map, they can ban that one too. So definitely have some options.
And I think with all the qualifiers were quite large, but at the same time, I feel like it did generate a lot of hype because people were very involved with it for like a longer period of time. But they were not so far apart that it allowed the hype to down a little bit. So like
I think it was really cool as well. Yeah, you can see
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
fourth qualifier, we're just like Randy and Teddy being lazy and just getting to the last ticket in, and everybody's like, I mean, I wasn't happy. There was like Teddy, Randy, Stardom, and there's one place. I mean, CJ was extremely unhappy that he had to play one of those. He was
He's really
crying
unlucky.
already. So yeah, and I had
CJ
the
is
easy.
always really unlucky.
Yeah, I had the easy brackets. Like I wanted to play a little bit for fun because I hadn't played bar for like months or so, and it's just like I slowly eased in with a couple of new players. Won all the games I was expected to win, and then Skag cheesed me, and
That's nice. Also with the pick and ban is that you can assess your opponents and pick and ban according to your opponent, and that it adds some strategy to it. I feel like.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
course,
there
yeah.
was this one game where the Skag cheesed the Teddy and almost won with like the full drop, killing Teddy's whole base, but lost the commander in the process. And Teddy kind of leaked me that information. He was like, "Oh my god, like Skag OP on the cold place," and I played Teddy, I lost to him, and then I play Skag next, and I'm just like, "I'm gonna ban cold place." I don't know what. What do you do? I can't find other replays, but Teddy said you're like OP there, so I'm just gonna respect Teddy's word. So maybe cheating, maybe not, but I mean, Teddy leaked the beans, and yeah.
To your all's point about the qualifiers and playing such sweaty players, and each of them, one of the ideas I had for the next season would be the top 8 players from the main event the first season get invited back, and then the qualifiers you're getting a seat. We would have another league, another event, right? So you would play in that, like very similar to like Code A and Code S from GSL, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you get the 8 seats from the next main event, like the Code S main event, by getting top 8 in Code A, and then you're relegated to the bottom league if in the Code S you are knocked out in the group stage. So we have 8 players eliminated in the group stage of the Code S, and those 8 players are replaced by the top 8 from Code A. So it's like maybe separating the leagues a little better between skill levels. It's kind of one of the ideas.
Yeah, that does sound nice. It also nice that the qualifiers, I feel like, allowed for a lot of low-rated players to participate into the whole tournament scene and everything like that.
The only thing is that I don't think enough players actually I mean, they tried qualifiers maybe once. I mean, the 1v1 isn't the most popular mode, sadly. If you left the bar with only 1v1s, we would have like, I think, really good action, but like people sometimes don't really get encouraged. So, but I don't know, like I wasn't practiced at all, and I was kind of rusty, but I had so much fun playing in the qualifiers. So I mean, if the viewer here, which is listening to us now, decides to join, I mean, it's good fun, right? And you have multiple chances, and there were plenty of players who weren't expected, like from the first look of the eye, that they're gonna qualify, but they did qualify, right? So
yeah, some players. I had a Snoopa. I learned who he was actually. So he's big team game player. I guess he's been enjoying the game for a couple months now. So had a chance.
He's gotten really good.
Yep. And was a little disappointed he didn't play. I mean, I'm sure I'm sorry for the Aussies out there who have to kind of stretch to get to these events. So try and think of a way to accommodate you guys. But yeah, so that's kind of my idea. Like maybe looking forward is like how we can get more players participating, and not have to be like, oh, looking at a qualifier you sign up for, and it's like, oh, we see Randy as your first opponent, and then you drop to the like losers bracket, and it's like, yeah, so. Maybe it will be a little more fun, but still have access to like good players, good replays, and get some experience in that tournament setting or 1v1 setting at least.
Yeah, no, that sounds good, and then it also gives you something for qualifying previously or getting in a higher spot previously, so that you get something more out of that as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about like auto qualifying. I think pros being in the maybe, I don't know, maybe top 8, it would be just maybe respectful for the time, but I think everybody loves a little warm-up either way. If you have to participate, then you have to do it. Otherwise, I mean, we're still looking for good games, and I think like if you, even the top 8 should play the qualifiers, from my perspective, because there was like also a good content from the qualifiers in themselves, right? And there were
a little bit
casting
of drama
efforts
too.
from Waffles.
Yeah, I feel like those are something like things that separates newer players and more veteran players. It can be really good. For example, like the tournaments that were, what's it called when a tournament is that you play one opponent and then people get points, and then you play different opponents. Depending on the Swiss format is also really good because you have that a bit where you play people of your own level and so on. And
exactly.
I plan maybe to host some Swiss event, maybe with the Barcast as well. Let's see how these main events go. But I would wish like it would be like just one weekend, maybe smaller prize pool, and just and you just you have like hours, and everybody who is, you check in, you play, you done, and that's just like maybe try to run them like for a month or so. But
something
that's separate from the league, I think.
There's a balancing act between like how much of a time commitment these things are, and like for instance in LSR's case, right, like that tournament would be just like a weekend thing. You don't have to like go through the qualifier stage. You can just jump in, jump out, and be done with it. So anyway, all this is in like the long term of just trying to cultivate like a 1v1 scene. I know like a lot of players, we have a lot of team game players here in Bar, and like there's a whole format that is yet to be explored or solved, or
That was also really nice. The weeks leading up to there was a lot of people playing 1v1, and people were practicing every day, and that's also really nice to see. And then when I want to practice, I know I can just launch the game, and then I can just find someone easily, and it creates a whole vibe about it, and that's fun.
Absolutely. Do y'all have any other kind of closing thoughts before we move on to analyzing some of these other games from your series against Teddy? Or
no, it was really well. It was well done. It was fun. I'd like to see more of it personally.
Yeah, thank you for that. I had a lot of fun.
Thanks.
LSR, thank you for stepping up and doing the stream. That was a big ask.
I mean, those 3-4 days weren't a lot. I mean, it was a week, but
appreciate it.
With the post-mortem for the other events, I think we'll do the next one even better.
Well, that's the plan, and there's more to come, and we're going to improve every time. So just going to have a better experience for the viewers, people who are participating, and just everyone involved. So that being said, going to move into more of an analysis phase here. We invited Raghna on to talk about some of the games he played against Teddy in the most recent Spring TV tournament he put on. So we're going into this Paradise Lost game. Raghna, I know this is your home map and you have a lot of experience on this map. Is there anything you can kind of communicate to players who are maybe afraid or apprehensive about playing on C maps, or to get them to enjoy this map a little more?
Well, I mean, it can get a little bit scary because you kind of have to relearn the game, and like the first time you play Bar, there's so many things I have to learn about it before you can get to a decent level. It's a bit the same thing with the C, so it can be a bit daunting. There's some significant big differences, like the maxes, you can't raid them with your regular fast unit, so that gives like a very different pace than on land, and the units play quite differently and everything. So yeah, it's mostly, especially in the beginning, a story of just experience. You know, like you played a bunch, you get the feel of the units, and you have to get through that. You have to get through that initial phase, and you're gonna lose, and you're gonna die a bunch, and you're gonna learn, and you have to get through that tough phase to get to the good stuff.
And
There's some
go.
small 1v1 maps as well you could try, or you can flood even regular maps to just get a practice on. So there's a lot of options. It's interesting, Ragnar, you stayed the C thing, you know, have to start different. It looks like you haven't even going on a C. What is happening in this replay?
Yeah, so I see that the wind is quite high. So what I do when the wind is this high, especially on this map, I like to go for energy storage, so that once I go into the sea, I can just keep pumping out units without worrying about winds, because otherwise you have to make tidal generators. At 15 tidal generators, they don't feel that great, and wind is just so good on this map. So you don't have to keep going back to land to make some winds, then back into the sea to assist the lab, then back on land and so forth. And here I get the nice little storage, and then I go in the water and I stay in the water.
Yeah. Did we maybe put the boxes wrong on Barcast? Because it has been pointed out by players that both of these spawns weren't exactly fair. If you look at the boxes originally we had, you can see here now they are starting at the opposite corners, while in a tournament they had to start in the top things.
Right.
So yeah, I personally don't see it. There is a bit of a difference, but there's some nice things about each spot. For example, here where I start in the corner, okay, it's a longer walk, but at the same time the wind is way safer against sea raids. Whereas in the other corner, sure, it's a shorter distance, but if you build a wind here, other ships can destroy it really easily. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's 100% unfair. There's advantages to each. It's debatable, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, in the reference with the Pro League tournament, the boxes were a little bit different, right? There was different corners.
Northwest versus southeast.
Yeah, and for example, I think this bottom box was like a little bit better, because it's like really close. If you look at the mexes, like people start at the land mex and then just walk down. While on the other side, like it seems like it's a lot farther.
It's not that huge at all.
Negligible. Yeah, I also checked it. I also didn't thought it was like a big deal, but I just want to address the concern that like players have that.
I was actually considering starting up front. You know, you have the middle islands, and you
yeah.
have them. I was considering starting somewhere up front and like here and doing something like a rush that is unexpected. But nobody, everyone that I played against banned Paradise Lost, unfortunately.
You didn't play a single match?
No, everyone
even
banned
not in qualifiers.
I think even there everyone banned it. Yeah.
We saw a couple of games from the tournament. I want to say Teddy versus Stardom. We saw a pretty long game on Paradise Lost. I'm blanking on some of the other matches, but we saw it played a few times. Which, I mean, I was happy to see. I'd like to see more of this map in tournaments, just because the games are so much different than like a normal, comet catcher 1v1 or.
I like it, and it even gives a lot of options. Like you can do hovers, you can do air. You can go take 2, see. I've seen everything, so I really like it.
Yeah, shout out Zekaris, is it, who balances the C units. So seems to be in a good place.
I think he did a really good job. The old C was, I feel like it wasn't that great. It was very mono spam, and here it's very balanced and what you need to make, and the factions as well.
So, do you have like a plan for this map? Like, what does it look like when you get into the mid game and I guess we end up splitting the map. It's like as a C player, or I guess in any kind of position. I know it's super contextual to your opponent and how the game has gotten to that point, but like, how do you win from this split map position on this map, or what do you think about it?
I think torpedo launchers are really good and cheap, and I think blockading just one side of the map with them and then pressuring the other side with like a nice frigate army and shoot and harass, reclaim, repair.
Kind of snowball, I guess.
Yeah, it's and snowball just with micro. I really like that. It doesn't always win, and sometimes if you keep that up for too long, you end up actually losing. And then you have to recognize that, and then swap seaplanes and bombing the wind and everything is super powerful. Recognize when the enemy is going Tech 2 is very important here. Early Tech 2, you're very vulnerable. It takes a long time for Tech 2 to really pay off. So you have to recognize if the enemy is going Tech 2 and then going just for an all-in fight. I'm not a big fan of going Tech 2. I think it's too slow, too dangerous. Yeah,
So it's interesting you mentioned that in LSR. We've had a conversation about this before. It's like you can just get the T2. Was it console out? The
the T2 lab, and you just get one builder
Engineer.
for CD,
One
and then
engineer.
you reclaim
Right.
it immediately. You can even like reclaim the lab while it's building if you're like good enough,
Yeah,
and just get it for the mixes. So yeah, I think it's even true. It holds true in team games, at least for me. Like you just don't have units, right? What Raghna said before, and it's like really expensive and really big risk.
Okay, so one thing that is super powerful is the engineer has the heavy sea mine.
Right.
Oh,
And
those are really good.
mines and sea are super powerful because all the units are expensive. Even the cheapest unit is actually relatively expensive compared to like scouts. Yeah, mines are really and usually the cheapest units after some time you've already stopped making them even. So you're left with like only really expensive frigates and destroyers, and then if you have mines, it's so difficult to deal with it. It's also a lot more difficult to make a Juno if you want to get rid of that.
It takes
So
a
you
while.
would have to you'd have to start making a Hoover lab and making the Hoover scouts and everything. So yeah, you know, if you want to go Tech 2, make the even before your Tech 2 builder, make the
So-
engineer and get mines up.
So I understand. What are the ways you can counter the mines, or like how do you clear them out apart from the Juno? Are there any other mechanics in the game to clear out sea mines?
If you can shoot at where you think that they are, and if the enemy makes a straight line, you can kind of predict where the next one is going to be. It's not the best method, but you can make a hover lab and make the cheap scouts with the hoovers.
And those will detonate the mines, just driving over.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or you can simply go over land with the hovers, you know, where the mines are not. Usually, in a lot of situations, is go around the mines. But yeah, when there's choke points like here.
Yeah, exactly. The map is very choked up in certain spots, so I'm sure you can find some really effective positions to place your mines.
So yeah, the problem also with Tech 2 here is that with C, the Tech 2 construction is really expensive. So that delays it even more, the whole Tech 2 thing.
That's interesting. And there is a whole, there's a whole phase on this map, right? You start off with the shipyard typically, right? And then I would say most players move into a seaplane, which I kind of consider Tech 1.5. And then if the game goes really long, you would eventually get a Tech 2 at some point, but it is a big risk, and like the game can be won and lost before that phase, obviously.
What I see often, and we already see it here actually, is people don't make enough build power and don't make enough energy, so they end up amassing a lot of metal. And I think this is really important on this map, is to make sure that you spend your metal because you get so much metal. There's so many mexes on the map, and suddenly you have this huge surge of metal income that you have to make enough energy for and enough build power for. And then if you're able to outproduce your enemy, even if you've made some mistakes somewhere else, suddenly you have a lot more units because you've simply spent your metal, and then you can win with micro and snowball it from there.
It's like every bar game, regardless of whether it's at sea or not, right? Just spend your resources.
Yeah, but because here raiding is so much more difficult because the mexes are underwater. If you fell behind first a bit, it's not so bad. But if you have to win the fights, it's the engagements that you have to win, and then you have to reclaim that medal.
more? Would you say that's kind of more important? Picking your battles and reclaim positions are more important than in like land games, or is it more
Yeah,
place?
yeah. But because in land games, okay, it's better if you don't feed metal to the enemy, but expanding wins you the long game because you just have that much more income. And here, because the mexes are so much more difficult to raid, it plays differently, I feel.
It's interesting. I never thought about it quite like that, but it's like it ends up playing out like you say. Like you have to you get this huge economy on this map, and you have to have the wind and eco to support it. Or
We saw it in the Pro League tournament as well. I think Stardom went pretty hard all in, and I think one of the torpedoes wasn't like firing or something, and he lost three subs for nothing, and it was like a really big loss, like game-ending loss.
I think. Actually, I'm not even sure what happened there. Was he? Because do you outrange torpedo launchers, or you just have to micro like attack the ground to
He
hit?
had to micro, but I think his torpedo missed a static torpedo launcher. I mean, I don't know what happened. Did he lost like a vision or something? But it was like super painful.
So the interesting interaction between torpedo launchers and subs is that they have about the same range, but the torpedo launcher has a little bit less sonar than it has range, and so at max range the sub can shoot at the torpedo launcher even if it doesn't see it. So you do have to shoot the ground. But and the torpedo launcher can shoot back unless it has radar vision of it, and then it will shoot back.
So the takeaway is that you always have to have a radar
With the torpedo launcher.
Well,
relatively stable.
Not always, because a lot of players, they will not micro their subs like that, and the enemy has to know that you have a torpedo launcher there as well, because otherwise they will just walk into it and so on. So it's not like you don't always have to immediately have a radar, but if you don't, the enemy can abuse it if they have the micro and everything for it.
Which you would expect players to be able to do that, or do you expect your opponents to be able to micro like that, or do you just kind of take it for granted?
Depends whom. In general, I don't see it much, and I don't expect it, but I try to abuse it, so I take it into account. Also, radar is insanely important on C.
Yeah, this is a great radar spot, by the way.
Yeah. Just make radar everywhere, and engagements matter. Like engagements change so much, right? Because frigates versus supporter and so on, you have to turn already before the enemy is in range, so that they shoot while retreating, right? So radar is incredibly important.
I will also attest to that. Like more so in land games, the radar is important, and the sonar as well. It's like if a sub say slips past into your half of the map, it's like chasing those around or finding where they've kind of scurried off to is so much easier with the radar spread around.
So, I would say the frigates versus the supporter or Corvette is a bit similar, like the stout versus the blitz, in that if the stout just runs in, doesn't have any vision, and gets into range of the Corvettes or the blitz, they kind of lose out a lot. But if you have radar, you see the enemy blitz coming or the enemy Corvette coming, you have to already turn around before they're in proper vision, and then you kind of kite them.
You get that value from the
direction. Yeah.
That's a huge part of this game. That unlike say other RTSs, it's like the actual kiting. It's like units don't do as much damage if they're attacking a unit moving away from it, or like what's that mechanic in bar that?
Actually, that's plasma. I think Raghna told me as well, right? Plasma is a big deal in that.
So if you test, for example, 10 stouts versus 10 stouts, and one runs away from the other and the other one chases, you end up with the one that runs away, killing all 10 enemy stouts with 8 surviving.
That's wild. That's very effective.
That's huge, because the plasma that shoots forward, shoots where the enemy was, but the enemy is already driving away from it and then shoots the ground. But the one that driving away and shoots back, the plasma already hitting the enemy tank that's moving forward. So yeah.
You can extrapolate this to everything, like pawns, I think, as well. Maybe not such great numbers, but everything that fires plasma, that's important to recognize.
Stouts and frigates are the biggest one behind because they have this slow-moving plasma. But yeah.
Or like not as maneuverable as a blitz per se, or like a grunt, right? It's like, well, a grunt's not plasma; it's a laser, but yeah, something like to pay attention to in the game, or if you're a newer 1v1 player, or I guess a newer bar player in general, it's like don't chase units, like don't let them kite you, because you'll just kind of learn that the hard way over time. Here we get a chance to see some of these torpedo gunships in action here, which I've experienced are like super easy to micro, like with this fight move here. They just kind of dance around and get that flanking bonus.
I'm not a huge fan of the torpedo, simply because they're about the same as a regular gunship. The only advantage, the biggest advantage they have is that they shoot underwater, so against subs. So they're basically useful mostly because they can shoot subs. Otherwise, the other gunship is better in every way. Although one more advantage they have is if you micro it intensively, you can kind of shoot and then fly away, and then shoot and fly away, and then you have like a larger range attack than
unlike the gunship counterpart where they have to like stay and fight to get their damage off.
But you see here Teddy went Tech 2, and he doesn't have any units, and he's caught with his pants down right here.
Essentially, yeah. These Buccaneers are insane, actually. By the way, so if you do get to Tech 2, the Buccaneer is a really strong choice.
Yeah, they are good. They are good, but you also have to make up for your investment in the Tech 2 lab. So you need quite a few before they really pay off. And frigates still can contest. Like it's not like they're completely outranged and they can't do anything back. So they can still contest. With a lot of lands Tech 2, Tech 2 just completely outranges and completely kites Tech 1, like the Hound or something like that. There's just nothing you can do against it. But here, it doesn't outrange it necessarily by that much, so it doesn't completely negate frigates.
Well said. We can move out of this game, but for those of you who haven't had a chance to play on this C map or any other C maps, or I guess say like played the C role in some of your team game matches, there's a lot to learn. It's a whole nother side of the game, and it's really enjoyable to learn this part of the game and play a 1v1 match. Like C and air is just, it's 2/3 of the game, right? Most of the time we just see 1/3 of it played. There's just the land maps with bots or vehicles. So get in there, take your licks, and enjoy the format.
Talking about air, what do you think about a full air map?
I would definitely put that in the league. I think we saw that in the last Alpha Cup. Remind me the name of the map where I think the players agreed to do the island spawns on the.
Yeah, but it doesn't work out. I think that was another tournament. I think I even didn't participate in that tournament because I had picked that as my home map because I thought that was so edgy. But it isn't. Like one guy gets 2 mexes, another guy gets 3 mexes because one mex is like really in an awkward position. So. Maybe we need to bump the cookies and have it redesigned. I think the map is cool. I love the slow build-up phase. You know, it's a little bit risky to go out as well. And we did see it in Alpha Cup. I think Teddy dropped in the middle, and I think that the North position actually won, which was favored. So. Yeah, I don't know how. I don't think it's like that well balanced. Definitely much worse than this Paradise Launch.
Right. If we could find a balanced air map, I would definitely consider putting it. I think
you could do it maybe on the Charlie's Hills, even though maybe players can like make a lab somewhere there. There is some maps that you kind of could start on the position that's like only air.
Well, I mean, you also all have acidic query, but maybe it's a little bit too unorthodox. But yeah, the interesting thing about the Sky Isle that you talked about and this little starts that you have is that it does allow for very divergent opening choices. And I think this map that we're looking at here, Silent Sea, has exactly that as well. Is that you're on your island. There's not that many mexes in the sea, so you don't really have to contest the sea, and so you're a bit left to do whatever you want for a little while, and you could do practically anything and it would be okay. You can do hoovers, you can do sea, you can do air, you can do tech, you can do amphibious, you can do literally anything you want, and it's viable. And I think that that's what's interesting about this map and some other maps like Sky Idle that you mentioned, and to a lesser degree, you also have maps like Ravaged that has a little corner of you that's very easy to defend. It gives you a little bit of a minute or two to do your own thing.
That's a good point, and what a great segue into the map this game we're going to be getting into, and this is a map I've been considering adding into the Pro League. So it's Silent Sea. 1v1 to 3. Actually, Mythit made this map, so shout out Mythit.
Yeah.
Well done, sir. And I've had a chance to play a couple games on this map recently, and
I haven't seen it at all. It looks beautiful though.
it's a fascinating map, and I want to say this is an OGTA map, or if not, a Forged Alliance map. So definitely a remake, if I'm not mistaken. I don't want to eat my words, the caster's curse, of course. But yeah, have you had a chance to play any games on this map, Raghna, before this series? Or
Yeah. I actually played it a lot with Midfit when he released it. We played a whole bunch of games on this, so I do, and I had a bit of understanding of how to play this map before coming in, and yeah, I have to say that I like it because of the aforementioned characteristics. I wouldn't want every map to be like this because there is something really nice about contesting the middle and fighting from the very start. But this is a nice change where you can see a lot more different kind of units appear, and I think that's what a lot of players like as well. Like especially spectators, they like to sometimes see
something different,
things that you usually don't see in 1v1. Yeah.
It can be stressful to play on a map like this as like a 1v1 player. It's just so much different than your other, like what you're typically used to, right? But in the same way that Paradise Lost is rewarding to learn and practice a little bit, I'm imagining we'd have the same thing happening on this map. It's like there's so many different options to choose from. You can literally do anything. It's insane. So, and figuring out which one's better or worse than others is, I find that process enjoyable. I don't know about you all, but definitely enjoy it.
For sure. I already see some divergent plays right here. Teddy probably planning to go for double expansion on each side, while Raghna choosing to camp his little hill, be a little bit, I don't know, safer, or
yeah.
What's the idea behind starting here on the?
Yeah, I really like the starting on the low ground and expanding faster, and you just have more metal. But here I wanted to try to play a bit safer and to be a bit more late game oriented, with having the safe spot that can't as easily be assaulted from the sea with amphibious or enemy ship or something like that, which I think is quite dangerous if you're on the low ground.
I made that same mistake just yesterday, building my main base here, and it was so easy to once a couple frigates came out onto the map, it was game over.
Yeah, but because if you're on the high ground, you don't have to contest sea as much, and there's not that many mexes in the sea. So if you don't contest sea, you can focus on economy for a little bit longer. While if you're contesting sea, you're already investing a lot in fighting, and then you can fall behind a bit economically, I think. But yeah, everything is a gamble, and so the thing that I like about this is that you need to have a plan. All right, you can't really wing it as much as you can in Comet Catcher or something like that. You need to come in with a plan. Okay, I'm gonna like try this kind of thing, and maybe you have to adjust along the way, but you need to have a plan. And then after, you have to come onto your enemy and with the plan that you had in mind and strike your enemy basically before the enemy executes their plan onto you successfully. So it's a little bit of a race like that, and I think that's really interesting.
That's something I've been considering or thinking about, that the approach to this map. And personally, I settled on like opening bots, getting your starting island, and then moving into air, and just getting a scout out and seeing what your opponent is doing. Because there's like such a wide range they can be doing themselves. It's like you need the information to react properly. And of course, like these bottom right and top left islands, you can access by air relatively easily. So that has been my approach.
Yeah. Scouting is insanely important. It's super important to see what the enemy is doing. You're absolutely right. What I also like about bot labs, so you can think, if you make a vehicle lab, you can make them amphibious. You can like raid a little bit. You can get the island with the corner island. You can get it with an amphibious con as well, and a few maxes in the sea as well. So that has a really nice advantage. What I really like about the bot lab is the grunts or pawns or whichever. But here in this case, you make really cheap grunts, and the enemy attacks you with hoovers or amphibious units. It doesn't matter. You have a decent size amount of grunts for defense. You reclaim your bot lab, and then you barely spend anything, and you can defend against quite a lot. And then
while getting the island.
And while booming up economically. So yeah, I personally like the bot lab just for that.
Quickly remind me, it's like what is the hotkey to actually build to get the spread on these wind turbines like we see queued up?
So Alt Shift and but I'm not 100% sure because I use grid menu, customized grid menu. But what I do is Alt Shift and then Z and X.
I see.
Yeah.
This is definitely something I've been needing to add into my own play. I like to like draw out wind turbine lines, but it seems not as effective, like space wise.
I would also suggest to go and increase build spacing for all of the buildings. LLTs work greatly, mines work greatly. There's a lot more stuff, right? Instead of clicking multiple LLTs, you can drop the lines really fast and.
I really like that point about the mines you mentioned. It makes it doing that so much more effective. Like the grid minefield.
You don't like if you stack the mines like as with no distance, it's not gonna be good for you, right? And clicking is overrated. The bar isn't made for clicking. So it looks like Teddy's planning to go in the hovers. Well, you plan to bomb his wind or something, right?
Yeah. It's a wind map, so bombers.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Also, these AA turrets are really good with like large spacing and then building huge squares of them on big maps because they get flanking bonus, so they deal way more damage if you spread them out a lot than if they're all firing from the same side. So if you have like a large array of these turrets with the flanking damage, they deal a really large amount of damage.
That's interesting. Consider so many little nuanced things we can do, and I'm really curious to see how you approach this bombing run here. So you have the scout. This is really nice micro here. The scout is just in front of the bombers. They're already moving, so the difference between when these bombers show up...
It dies immediately, though. Teddy is not a new player. He knows what's up. He sees the map. He knows that bombing is a very real possibility. Spreads his winds a lot, too, so I don't get too much damage off of this. I didn't see the east there because the scouts died immediately. So yeah, I get very limited value from
right. Yeah, well, even going as far as pre-building 5 anti-air turrets, so definitely. Oh, you can walk up this. I just noticed that.
Yeah, like I said, amphibious constructors can go over there as well, but hoovers cannot. Just to note for the future.
So it looks like you've constructed an air transport. I'm assuming we're gonna see your intentions with that here shortly.
Mostly I want to reclaim the air lab, and I like to have a few fighters, drones, and transports there in case I want it. So so that I don't have to rebuild an air lab if I want that.
Kind of approaching more of the mid game. I like to see you already have this build power started on this high ground here, and we're walking our commander down too. start the shipyard in the water. Really forward position on the shipyard here.
Because like I already like planned it ahead of time. Like I knew that's what I was gonna do before I start. So
There's quite a big divergence here between your approach to the map and Teddy. Like he chose to go for this hovercraft platform, so it didn't move into air. Just immediately, just goes bots into hovercraft here after securing his starting island.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to poke with something. You know, it can be amphibious, it can be hovers, it can be air, but just make sure that the enemy isn't greeting full in and poking a little bit. You can try to go for an all-in. Teddy here doesn't. He just go for scouts to see if there's something to pick off. Probably he knows that probably he won't be able to do much with it, but you have to kind of poke to make sure the enemy isn't being super greedy.
You're right. So, now that you've moved into C, it's like do you know from experience how much C to make? It's like, or where to attack. I mean, obviously some of these areas are a little more vulnerable than others here, but it's like what is the play with C? Like once you have some units out on the field.
Well, yeah, you have to make sure you don't overbuild, of course. You also have to see what the enemy is doing. Is the enemy trying to tech? Well, you certainly can't stay on C very long. You have to make sure you switch yourself over to something else, or do like a really large amount of damage with it. So is the enemy going with C themselves? Well, is there a wreck field? Is there this? So yeah, it's all things you have to consider. But yeah, make sure you don't stay on C too long. And I think what I really like on a map like this is to try to give your opponent a bit whiplash in the sense of keep switching over and over and over again to different things. And then the enemy has to defend against very varied attacks and has to defend a bit against everything. And yeah, I think that's really powerful in general, team games as well, and 1v1 and whichever. And it forces the enemy always to be on the back foot, so they have also trouble attacking you.
Yeah, you have that initiative, right? Like with
yeah, exactly. So yeah.
What are these? These are the missile Corvettes. Okay, what is the range on this?
Yeah.
650 range.
The range is really high. This is why I made them, is because they have such high range. You can make the destroyer that also has really large range, but it's so expensive and so slow. So it's a nice bonus that they fight quite well against.
I see you're already taking into the new tech approach.
Yeah. This is the ideal thing. This is I'm not sure. I don't know if he saw it or not. But yeah, I think this is the ideal thing. While your attack is going on, you send your army and you already reclaim your lab and you move on to something else. Because as soon as the enemy sees your army, they're already starting to prepare for it. So the units that you're making at that point are already being prepared against, so it's better to swap to something else.
I'm so greedy. If I get bombed, I don't make A after. I mean, he would take out
because
the
it's
bombers.
unlikely he will bomb.
Yeah, but I still
again,
get bombed either way because people tend to retry. So that probably depends on the thing. You can basically level yourself in that sense, like play yourself. I mean, in it. Oh. You're gonna get your window. We had a couple of Shuris, but
I still have my grunts from earlier, so yeah, it's totally fine.
How do they fare against these crocodiles? Looks like we're gonna take that anti.
They're good.
Yeah.
Grunts are really good defensively. If you have to attack and the enemy has these and the enemy can kite, the grunts will not fare that well. But I'm trying to micro it to many places. Yeah.
So, okay, thank you for taking that. Just kidding.
So yeah, that's the nice thing about grunts and pawns is they're really good defensively against most units. Like against enemy stouts, they're really bad unless they defend, and the stouts has to move forwards, and then it's really easy. Yeah.
Back to ship. No, ships again, right?
Yeah, looks like
the poison arrows will be really cool.
Yeah, poison arrows are really strong. I really like them, and it's really difficult to find maps where you can make them, especially in 1 versus 1. Like it's almost never that you can make them, but yeah, they're really strong, especially with a commander. If you can have a commander with the poison arrow, this is super strong.
Huge range.
Yeah.
It's like
So
T 1.5 at least, right?
yeah. And the nice thing about the range is that it ranges all Tech 1 and the Commander, so it's really good against Commander as well.
What is the cost on that? I didn't have a chance to click on
It's a
the
1,000.
lot.
1,000 metal.
Thousand,
It costs a lot, and especially also a lot of energy. Now this is a map with like really high winds, so it's actually totally fine to make it here. If it was a solar map, it would be a lot more difficult to make it.
Speaking of things that are
Uh,
totally fine, it would be totally fine if you hit the like and subscribe button for me. That would be great. So thank you for that.
Smash that like button.
Smash it. We can bring some more of these. Sorry, continue, please.
Yeah, no. So I think like yeah, any map where on 1 versus 1 you can make a poison arrow. I think that's already really cool.
What comes to mind would be like was that Theta crystals with that little big like lake in the middle separating those two attack lanes. So that kind of comes to mind.
Yeah, but the problem is that it's a big investment, and any investment that you don't make into making like blitz and stouts and pawns and whatever, you lose on territory on Theta crystal. So
and also, yeah, where'd you get the lab, right? You get the lab almost in the middle of a lake, and then you drive like 100 meters, and you're off on the other coast, right?
Didn't
yeah,
quite.
here you really can, you know, get away with yeah, making this lab, and the enemy is not going to grab your mexes in the meanwhile, unless they try to go for a really aggressive all-in.
So you've spotted your opponent's Tech 2. Like,
Yeah.
what is the response here? Like, what are you thinking to counteract this?
Yeah, I have to
Otherwise-
go Tech 2. I have to go Tech 2 as well. So yeah, I want to put some more pressure because I destroyed already some of his economy, so I like that part, and I feel like putting on some pressure. But yeah, I know that I'm on a timer, and I have to really
yeah.
soon switch over
Yes.
to Tech 2.
What are those called? Platypus or pelicans or?
Yeah, they're really good on a map like this. And here the grunts are not going to be able to hold off that well against these platypus. So yeah, I have to do something. I guess at first I'm right this very moment I'm worried about the platypus. So if I go tech right now, I'm a little bit of trouble. So I want to make some frigates to defend against the incoming platypus right this very moment. But I need to switch over.
They're so fast.
Yeah. And they have AA turret against
No shurikens
drones.
allowed, yeah.
Yeah. So that's already a lot tougher to hit. They're not super strong. Like their stats are not that
Think the
amazing.
ducks are
so
better?
They're too slow, I think. Ducks.
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
is a
ducks are
nice
too slow.
trap right here surrounding these units. So you got the best trade.
Really lucky. It didn't look actually
Yeah.
completely good for you. I thought you were in a lot of
No.
trouble, but if
Yeah.
he run to different place, maybe he picks off even more eco. Your like metal
Yeah.
converters, maybe sent to
Yeah.
your island in the back. But I mean, you didn't get the island in the back, so it's fine. But
Well, he didn't have vision. That's the thing, right? When you attack like this and you don't have vision, it's easy to fall into a trap like that.
it
It's
looks like on this map, maybe T2 radar could be even useful now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even though it's like cost a fortune.
I'm quite. I think I make it at some point with Tech 2 Rider.
these are great radar positionings, by the way. One on this right side, one on the left side. You got the high ground here.
Yeah, it's important. Teddy in the beginning made some ticks that I liked as well. I don't think he has them anymore, but he made some ticks and he put them on the tip of the islands
Right.
just to scout things coming. That's really good.
Really cost efficient and quick, rather, way to get up some intel over. Like, say if your opponent went like quick hovercraft, that would have given you a lot of foresight.
Exactly. Or even quick air. Yeah.
I see you have your advanced bot lab going, and like one thing I'd like to point out is just like kind of you neglected taking this bottom right island. Is that something you just didn't have maybe the APM for, or like is this you don't see it's important? Like what do you?
Yeah, I could have. Like I had a transport and I could have sent a con over there. But yeah, as you see right now, it would have been raided, and I wasn't planning on contesting it too much. I was more focused, and I think in general, I'm more focused on attacking the enemy and putting pressure on the enemy rather than playing the big expanding game.
I see.
Yeah, I think it depends where your focus is. Yeah.
Well, it definitely worked. We saw multiple tech switches. You want to say got a decent amount of damage taking using that amphibious
But I'm behind. I'm behind Teddy, so yeah, did it work?
You're ahead in energy produced, no? With more windmills and converting a lot of it, but yeah, it's not paying exactly very well. Oh no, you're actually
Yeah, I'm behind in every term. So, so at this point, and he already has his Tech 2 maxes up. So I'm actually behind in every way here.
Look,
I just finished my first one there.
I mean, looking back on this replay, like where do you think the disadvantage came from, or what? Like what do you see that could have been done?
Yeah, well, to be honest, against Teddy, I'm almost always behind in the macro, and against most players even, I would say. And I have to feel like it's about my playstyle, I guess, because I don't even really know why. I sometimes, even when I try to play, I'm gonna play macro and everything like that, I end up just not doing that, and I am almost always behind economically in games and then win some other way, and I don't know why. Yeah, I think I'm too close to myself to really be able to see that. I like aggression in general. I think for me aggression is fun, so I try to do that.
Yeah, I definitely picked up on that. Confirmed aggression on the most recent.
I was a little bit skeptical about that versus Chisato game on Red Comet, where you just had 10 minutes to expand, which with one con. I know you need Janus. I know you need Janus, right? But just one con making the pressure was so insane.
I actually had a misclick. With my commander was supposed to expand on the 3 mechs in the middle. And I had him already queued up there, and I don't know what happened. I have this happen sometimes, and then I must have clicked too fast, and then the commander came with to the front. And once he was there, I was like, oh shit, I have to play aggressive, extra aggressive, I guess.
Oh, so it wasn't your plan, actually, you deviated, right?
I practiced beforehand, and I practiced beforehand and I played really well, where I expand with the commander and I just play aggressive with the Stout and Janus. But yeah, I just changed on the spot because the misclick.
I saw a few of those games out of you, just like the early, very early Stouts and Janus.
Yeah, we can see it on I see this as well, I think. I think that was it.
Oh, yeah.
You drove the cheese on as well, that was cool.
I would like to learn the more macro oriented style gameplay, and I've tried a few times, but I am not able to do it. I feel like I don't.
Well, your local dealer Teddy just have to see.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I even watch people play, and I see how he's doing this, and then okay, I'll try to do it, and then I end up playing aggressively. Yeah, I don't know.
It's just written in your written on your heart, just how I have to be attacking, have to be tech switching. It's just
that's what I love about the 1v1, and that's why I think Bar is cool. Like, you don't have to worry about your whole team status. It's like either you hurt your enemy and it's fine, right? Like that matters more, because often in team games you cannot do this really high aggression, like especially if your teammates aren't also aggressive as well.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was wild. I'm just watching a tumbleweed kill a sub. I did not know that was an actual interaction there. So.
Yeah, that traded as well. Nice.
Yeah,
I think mines are good. With the mine layer, I thought it was a good idea.
Yeah, mines are really good because again here it's not as easy to bring cheap units across. Yeah, I had to disconnect here. In a moment it will get there.
And time passes instantaneously in replays, I see.
It's difficult to bring cheap units across, so mines are extra good. Like you can't bring tanks and scouts and stuff across. So any unit that's gonna be there is gonna be expensive.
Are y'all familiar with the ferry command from FAF or Supreme Commander?
Vaguely, yeah.
Yeah, it's like you can make
It was a little.
like a waypoint with a transport. They don't have it. I don't think they have it in bar, but you can like make a waypoint with a transport, and then you can rally your factory onto that waypoint, and then it'll just like in a cycle, it'll just go to that waypoint.
I think there is one old widget, but it doesn't work as well as expected. And there's another widget which I don't think has made into the base game. If somebody would have mana to do that.
There used to be one. There used to be one where transporters would automatically look at the waypoints of factories and bring units coming out of the factory.
I think
to
that is in game right now, but it's like kind of janky. So
see.
I think there is a lot of issues with transports in bar. Like it's not a perfect 10 out of 10 game. So yeah. And also they removed the the regular ship transport, which was, I don't know if you could use this on this map.
Right.
You
Oh,
could,
okay.
Bring over the mammoth or something.
Wow. Well, I'm sure it's something we could see more of on this map if we end up seeing more games. But Raghna, you've built quite a big air fleet here. Are you looking to do good damage? Or?
I'm assuming Teddy made fighters because, to be honest, well, by now 100% sure he has fighters. So I made a lot of fighters, and in the end it never even made an air lab. So
big bombing runoff. You're just targeting the winds, I take it.
Yeah. I think that's the best thing. It's a wind map. Wind is very vulnerable. He has them spread out so well.
Fusion as well, so that's what also I'm looking at.
Yeah, I targeted later, but then it's already too late, and I don't get that much damage off. So this bombing run doesn't even do anything. So I was already a bit behind, and with that, I don't crawl back.
Yeah, here comes the counterattack. We see a lot of these platypus moving across the map.
It is a bit of trouble sometimes because okay, you want to attack the enemy, but then okay, what unit do you make? You can't make the standard units because they're not amphibious, so you have to make these weird units like platypus, like the
tumbleweeds and the bombs.
Yeah, so it can be a bit difficult, and if you're not used to it and you don't have like a strict plan, it can be quite frustrating because like come on, I want to attack the enemy. He has this eco lead. If there was no water here, he would have won already. But it can be quite frustrating to attack the enemy then.
I think that's more of a mental issue, right? It's just like you have to understand that like you're biased. You just have to do the other thing.
The macro thing.
You're not on CCR, man, right?
Yeah. You need a plan, and you need to know. Yeah, you need to have some experience with it as well, and you need to be like, okay, I'm gonna do this now, and commit to it a bit.
It's interesting to refine that and frankly lose not doing the right thing or like making that mistake, right? Because there's so many things to learn and like perfect in this game, so it makes it to me rewarding, finding out what's right or what works or focusing on the thing you're weak at in this game.
What I practiced on a lot on this map as well, and I really enjoy, is drops. So there's a bit of a meta that evolves on this map. You're like, okay, well, probably the enemy is not gonna full commit, so I'm gonna eco quite a bit, as we see both of us did. We tried a little bit with small attacks, but it's not full commits, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to outgreed your opponents, and you make a little bit of AA, you make a little bit of ground defense, but not that much. And then you can try to meta that and then go for like an all-in drop with Centurions or something like that. And so you can try to outplay your opponent that way, which is also really fun, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely gives like more considerations for the map apart from the topography or like how far apart the mexes are. It's like actually playing 20-30 games and seeing what your opponent kind of leans towards and then abusing that, right?
Yeah, especially if we play a few games against the same opponents, it gets really interesting because there's a sort of like evolving meta that goes on.
I'm blown away by how fast these platypus are keeping up with these patrol boats.
It's like 90. It's like blitz level speeds, right?
Yeah. Platypus are really good, and that's the thing, right? Like the core version, the ducks, okay, they shoot underwater, so they can actually shoot maxes. It's good for
Kill ships even, right?
Yeah, it's good to try to reclaim lost sea, because they can shoot underwater and everything, but they're so slow. So that and something like this,
I definitely appreciate having the speed and utility over just the brute force. That was a nice couple mines right there, cleaning up those platypus.
You know, just 8 platypus for 2 or 3 mines.
Teddy does field some large hover armies at this point. I mean, so even crocodiles moving out into the field, platypuses rotating around the map. So definitely is starting to feel large army.
It doesn't do too much damage with it. So it's in a sense it's a bit of a wasted investment, right?
Now we see the actual T2 ships coming, or actual naval units that can really harass the islands.
Yeah. So this starts to be an actual danger, and I go to sea here as well. And,
oh my god, the mines on the other side.
So sick.
And that hurts extra because you want to make a line when you attack so that your units are spread out. But when your moving line is parallel to the mine line, they all explode at the same time. And
can't react. That was a really nice place. Definitely learning some things here. Putting these.
If he played more, he would know to Juno the landing zones, right? Like because 8 platypuses definitely costs more than whatever the Juno costs. Plus you get the Juno. Plus you can deny the radar. I think Juno on this map is actually.
Plus you have a Juno the whole rest of the game.
You guys both. Yeah.
It's quite expensive to Juno, to be honest. So like early on, it's quite expensive. But yeah, here at this point,
Here, after T2, of course, and like the basic maxes, it just makes sense, and he gets it. Yeah, tired of the mine bullshit.
So yeah, you've made a battleship here. Is that something that you favor in this position over, like they said, the cruiser, or like what was?
Yeah, but the battleship is really strong. The only issue you have with it is subs. You have to be careful against if the enemy makes a huge sub army, you can be in trouble if you make too many battleships. But other than that, because they have the range advantage and they're really strong just in general on top of that, they're really dangerous. And the Cortex versions are even better than the Armada version. So Cortex is a really significant advantage here because the laser is very precise. So this is quite dangerous, whereas the Armada one is plasma, so it misses quite a lot. So
I'm a little worried for this positioning here, though. I mean, he has your navy completely surrounded, so we're gonna see.
Yeah. He does a really good job here. He draws me in. I think, I have a significant advantage here. I can go for it, and then he has a really nice trap going. And I try to stay on one side so I don't get completely surrounded. But this is a really nice play.
Yeah, this is what I love about the bar with all the explosion, like eco exploding really fast. This is another thing that it gives you the dopamine, because it's really swingy sometimes. If you play your cards right, you can be on top of the mountain, and 5 seconds later you're in such a big trouble. It's these swings is what makes the bar be a really good strategy game. It's not who has this unit at this time, or the timing attacks as much as the fortunes changing hands and reclaim being the way it is.
Reclaim really allows for a lot of swing as well.
And we see these Voyagers, these naval engineers.
Yeah, 6,000 metal. That should seal the deal once the Teddy gets his ships to the other side. But how does he kill you now?
So one thing that somehow I was able to do here, though, well, I mean the mines here, as you see, they're really nice. But one thing I was able to do is outscale Teddy somehow. So I think Teddy here he stopped making eco at some point. He felt too much in danger by attacks or something like that, and I kept making fusion. So I somehow found the metal for it, and and that
Oh, yeah.
that gives me a significant advantage here actually. But yeah, like you see here, if they're not in close range against these battleships, these are really bad. The hoovers.
Yeah, absolutely. What was that shot?
Juno.
That was a Juno.
Oh, I
yeah.
see.
But the nice thing about mines is that they're built so quickly, you can just immediately rebuild them.
I'm surprised those aren't detonating inside of this Juno, like after cloud. I'm not sure what to call it.
Yeah, interesting as well. I think the scouts
Yeah.
do die for a while.
Yeah. And maybe it's a C thing. I don't actually know.
That was, I think, as as good of a trade as you could have hoped for, considering the circumstance. Now it's like you've at least contested this 6 clay reclaim field here,
Yeah,
or 8.5k,
yeah. I'm starting to reclaim as well. Yeah.
and
He does get to split his army and at least do 2 separate attacks, seeing that you have like all your battleships concentrated in one spot.
I didn't notice this, but these 2 fast assault subs cleaned up those naval engineers, getting that reclaim in the water behind the island.
As soon as I lost the units there, I knew I had to do something, and I immediately sent subs there to try to deny that reclaim, which I think was quite crucial.
I would say so, absolutely. It's really interesting. I haven't seen this
You
before.
deny the Rex with the subs? Like that would be super try hard.
Well, you can deny the Rex through killing the the construction.
Sometimes on the regular games, I do like target the especially early, I think the construction bot corpses are really important to take out because otherwise when against the bot player, right? Because otherwise the guy makes a reser and then just like reses and it's like
You lose,
kind of killed something. I mean, you don't lose, but you like if you kill the break and he can't res it, then it's so much better since he has to walk all the way to make the mixes, for example.
I think Cartouche is one of those tryhards that really does this a lot.
But it's like such a little nuanced thing that can really like hurt your opponent in a big way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's pretty much free, right? It's like you're not trading in a unit. It's just a little bit of a micro.
Yeah, I would say it's not free since it does cost quite a bit of micro.
Yeah, and you also have to confirm that you actually killed, for example, this construction bot, right? You have to notice, you have to execute, right? Sometimes in the heat of the battle, you'll be like on the next screen, oh, I lost it, but.
Yeah, and then if you target it and then you look away and then enemy units come around while they're shooting the grounds, it's not great either.
Yeah, I mean, you can set the I usually do the set ground thing and then pick up the unit later on. Once it goes around off the set ground, it's fine. Maybe you can even do the attack ground and then move. I don't know if it counts wreck as something that you can kill.
I imagine you could do a widget that does that.
Yeah, we didn't find the wreck for sure.
Some interesting.
And here I try to spread a bit to put pressure on different points at the same time, which is quite dangerous because the enemy can pick it off independently. But I think I had a significant advantage already here from the eco that I could have produced quite a lot and even lose some units and not being that bad.
So I have some EMP bombers that are making their way onto the battlefield.
Someone told me that they were super OP, and I'm not quite convinced by it.
That is the word on the street, but there's just some
the stilettos, yeah.
So I know even though you have your units spread out, it's like kind of naturally making an arc around the only way Teddy can move into this center channel here. So I mean he can go all the way around, but that's gonna leave himself open to an attack on the left side. So really kind of boxed him in here.
Yeah, that's what's nice about the shipyard position, I guess.
I guess the counterpart would be somewhere over here for Teddy, but like after seeing this, I do favor building the shipyard in the back. But after seeing this, like you get your units out to this more valuable real estate more quickly. So perhaps it is a better position.
And yeah, the scaling thing, you have to do it like at the right time. It's tough because you have to predict when do I have here a minute or two to spend to scale and not get crushed by the enemy. So scouting is really important, and then focusing on scaling. You know, like for 1 minute, don't make any units and scale a bit, and then make units again, and like switch between the two. I think is really important in these long
So you're just
game. Games.
Turning off your factories essentially, or I guess in this case it's a little easier.
Reclaim even. You
Okay.
reclaim your factory and you invest your factory into eco, and then once you've finished it, like a fusion or something like that, you put it back into factory.
There's a big naval battle going on the left side. You see these cruisers trying to take on these battleships, but I mean, yeah, like you still have this huge arc, right? So you can't really trade efficiently. It's getting cornered.
And, yeah, like I mentioned here, and the Armada version is way better to shoot on land because it's not as accurate, so you can do like a barrage onto the land, but against moving sea units, Cortex version is much better because it shoots precisely, so it ends up winning more damage. Same thing with the what's it called? The biggest ship?
Ooh, Dreadnought maybe?
No, like the super big ship.
Can't say I've had enough experience to build that. I wonder if we can click on your factory and see. See the name of it.
Hydra. Yeah, this is the name on the right hand side in the middle. Yeah, Black Hydra, the flagship. There you go. The Armada version is better against land because it shoots like a lot of plasma in a general range, whereas the Cortex one shoots laser, and so the Cortex is better against other sea units, and the Armada is better against like artillery into the land.
That was a great game. For sure. We went 38 minutes versus Teddy on Silent Sea here, so definitely gonna add this into the map pool. Hopefully y'all enjoy playing it as much as I, as a spectator, enjoy watching it. I know it's a little bit different, the stress levels.
Well, one danger with it is, as you can see, it can it doesn't have to, but it can go long. So you might have to watch out a little bit that it doesn't drag on the games too much. So consider this as more of a longer macro map, I guess.
Maybe something like forcing players to play in the finals, like having one game on a map like this would be give us a decent show. So that was our expose into some of your opens or matches versus Teddy in the most recent Spring TV tournament. If I would expect from us some more of these, going to be reviewing some of the games. I know there was a series, Daywalker versus X Factor, I want to highlight on the channel, so expect to see that sometime soon. Thank you guys.
Both very good players as well. Very entertaining to watch. Daywalker also. I think a lot of people are still sleeping on Daywalker because he hasn't been playing Bar for that long, but he's been playing all the other games that are similar to this for a really long time, and he is a beast.
So good. Yeah, so that was I noticed he made it all the way to the round of 4 in the finals and wanted to show off some of his games that didn't get captured on the mainstream. So and of course edify my own self on how is this man doing so well in the game. So absolutely.
But thanks for having me, Barcast TV.
Raghna, thanks for taking the time to chat with us. LSR.
Yeah. I'll also have to wrap this up. This has been a long, nice cast. I also learned that, as always, from the Raghna. Couple of nice things.
Yeah, you can use the tumbleweeds to take out subs. I learned that at least that. So.
But self-destruct, keep them a hold fire and do self-destruct. It's a lot more micro, but it does way more damage.
Absolutely. So, yeah, thank you guys for joining me. Thanks for taking the time and having this conversation. I really enjoyed it, and hopefully do something soon once again in the future.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.